William Morrow and HarperAudio present The Boxcar Librarian, a novel by Brianna Labuskes, performed by Amy Melissa Bentley. To anyone who has ever called Montana home. Hearts starve as well as bodies. Give us bread, but give us roses. James Oppenheim, Bread and Roses, 1911. Chapter 1. Millie, Washington, D.C., 1936. Millie Lang could hear the girls gossiping through the thin walls of the boarding house. They were talking about her. She tried to tune them out as she used up the last bit of her cherry lipstick. It was a luxury that she shouldn't have splurged on. But sometimes, when the entire world was dreary and terrible, a pop of red could save the day. Millie kissed a handkerchief and then smoothed down the fashionable bob she was still getting used to. Desperate for a paycheck, she'd cut off her long, thick braid right after she'd left her ranch in Texas in order to compete for jobs in the city. It turned out a hairstyle couldn't hide the stink of a life of mucking out stalls and slipping in cow dung. Not in Dallas, where she'd first landed, and not here in D.C. either. The girls in the room next to hers giggled as if they could hear her thoughts, and Millie shook herself out of her mood. There were plenty of people in the country who had worse things to deal with right now than snide remarks and cold shoulders. Maybe Millie had naively dreamed of making friends at Mrs. Crenshaw's boarding house, but mostly she was just thankful for a roof over her head, even if said roof leaked with the slightest hint of rain. Millie beat the other girls to the kitchen, though not the landlady who had likely been there since 5 a.m. "Good morning," she said softly, always too aware that, as a tall Texan, people expected her to boom out greetings and obscenities alike. Mrs. Crenshaw grunted something approximating a hello in return, and then went back to her behemoth of a stove. Millie tucked into the slice of toast and creamed eggs without any further pleasantries. The widow who ran the boarding house was neither welcoming nor rude. Millie was just another boarder in a long string of them that let her keep a roof over her own head. The other girls filled in around Millie, chattering on about their plans for the evening. Never once had they asked Millie if she were free, and she tried not to mind. They were all luckier than a lot of folks, and if she had to keep repeating that every few minutes to get through these mornings, then that was a small price to pay for keeping the right attitude. When Millie stepped out of the boarding house, she turned, as she always did, to try to catch sight of the gleaming white dome of the Capitol. Laundry lines full of undershirts and unmentionables crisscrossed the garden court, blocking the view for now, but the dome was there. A promise that there were people working to try to make Americans' lives easier. At least, that's what she told herself. Barefoot, dirt-crusted children of various ages played jacks in front of the house across from Mrs. Crenshaw's, their mother darning clothes on the back porch. Millie hopscotched through the remnants of a board drawn several days ago, wobbling dramatically to make the children laugh, and the mother shoot her a wan smile. They hadn't traded names, despite the fact that they saw each other most days. A lot of people simply didn't have space in their lives for one more thing to remember. Mrs. Crenshaw's was one of dozens of slim brick townhouses behind the Capitol. Some of the people who Millie worked with had deemed the area a slum, but Millie had trouble seeing it that way. Of course, the neighborhood smelled of human waste and garbage, beer and vomit, but that was the natural consequence when the privies were in the streets and families were packed into 2 small rooms because they couldn't afford anything else. The people, though, they all helped each other. Maybe Millie didn't know the name of the mother who darned clothes across the courtyard, but if Millie asked her for her last eggs, the woman would give them to her.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?